Greetings everyone, this is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. This time we're talking about the week of October 3rd, 2022. As has been our practice the last few weeks, we're going to talk about some disparate things. We're going to begin talking about Perseus. And I'm going to encourage you to go visit our website to look at pictures of Perseus. Right now, we're in a transition with the website, and so you might not be able to search it. I don't know. We have this www2 that goes on there. If you can get into the astronomy site, all the links work, but if you go www.luther.edu/astronomy/galleries/asterism/Perseus, I particularly like the picture at the bottom of that page that shows Perseus and Cassiopeia together rising over our observatory. We're going to talk about Perseus. Perseus is great right now. This is a beautiful region of the sky to be observing right now. I think of Perseus and Cassiopeia above Perseus as fall constellations. For us here at mid-northern latitudes in Decorah, Iowa, they're mostly circumpolar, these constellations, so they're up all the time. But right now, if this is the North Star right here, they're climbing as it gets dark. As night falls, they're climbing into the sky above to get above the pole. Instead of skimming the horizon down here, we can see them as high in the sky as they're going to get as evening wears on, as night wears on. And they're climbing that way, look northeast as it gets dark. And we're going to talk particularly about Algol. So we see this sort of sweep of stars right here and a couple strands of leg stars, and Algol is here coming down on the sort of western side of the constellation as it's drawn right here. The right side as it's drawn here. And so we've talked about Algol before, but that's okay. We like to talk about things again and remind ourselves of what we're doing. One of the things that we do look at here often in these little short introductions to the night sky are binary stars, where we see two stars. And we can look and see two beautiful stars together in a small telescope. And I encourage you to use your small telescope to look for these things. But this is a different kind of binary star. This is an eclipsing binary star. So if you want to see two stars together and watch them orbit around, think about it this way. You want the plane of that orbit, so they're orbiting in a plane, a geometrical plane, and you want the plane of that orbit flat in the sky. If it's flat in the sky, you can see that complete orbit. Now tilt it perpendicular 90 degrees, and the stars are coming toward you and away from you. And if they're exactly 90 degrees, if it's tilted right towards you, they come to you and away from you, and one will pass right in front of the other and eclipse it. So you will see that eclipse occur as one star blots out the other star. And when that happens, you get a dip in the light because you're blocking the light from one of the stars. And so you get this nice dip, brightest here where you're seeing both stars, dimmest here where you've got most or all of one star obscured down here at the bottom. And so you'll see that wonderful dip in brightness. For Algol, Algol is probably the most famous of these eclipsing binary stars. In our research field, where we look at the star cluster M23 and the region around it in Sagittarius, we have 5 or 6 of these identified that we've been studying for a long time. And we're really interested in these stars because we're interested in how the period of those eclipses changes. If the period's changing, it's most likely due. There are several options that are available to us, and we're working on all of them. But it's most likely due to mass being lost from the system or mass being transferred from one star to another star within the system or something along those lines. So we're interested in all kinds of aspects of those orbital problems. But Algol's been studied for a very long time. And Algol, the ghoul, is a eclipsing binary star that at its minimum is over 2.5 times, 3 times fainter than it is at its maximum. So you don't need a telescope, you don't need anything, you just need to be able to identify these stars and watch how bright it is compared to this star that's right next to it, or one of the other stars in Perseus up there, and just watch it. Now, we've got a great, for those of us in the middle of North America like I am, we've got a great example coming up here this week on October 7th. So the evening of October 7th, at about 10:15 p.m. for me, that's Central Daylight Time. You can adjust that for wherever you are, Central Daylight Time in the United States. We're going to be at mid-eclipse right there, where it will be maybe 3 times fainter, 2.5, 3 times fainter than you would see it otherwise. Now, Algol's not the fastest. It's pretty fast for one of these things. You think about stars orbiting. It has one of these eclipses every 2.5 days or so. And so that's a pretty short orbit. These stars are right on top of each other, right? But But for you sitting at the telescope or sitting outside without a telescope with your sketch pad or with your cell phone, taking cell phone pictures, that's a great way to go about doing this. It seems like it's a little bit slow unwinding. It's going to take about 5 hours to get from minimum back up here to maximum, about 10 hours total for this eclipse to go from maximum to minimum, back to maximum. And so, but this is a great timing for us because it's dark a couple hours before this, so we could start over here a couple hours before, watch it go to minimum, and watch for the full 5 hours if we want to afterward. We'd spend all night watching this. So I'd like to give you observing projects. There you go. This is one. If you get a chance, just go out and see Algol. Take some pictures of this region of the sky with your phone and see how they turn out if you've got a night mode on your phone. And watch Algol get brighter from about 10:15 Central Daylight Time, United States, on October 7th for the next few hours after that. Or start a couple hours before that as it gets dark, about 8 o'clock now, probably quarter to 8. So you probably have 2.5 hours before this eclipse you can watch it get, before this eclipse minimum, where you can watch it get fainter. So that's your project for this week. Identify the stars of Perseus. Go to our website and see the picture of Perseus and Cassiopeia and start to help to learn where these stars are. And then see if you can find Algol and see if you can at least detect that it looks fainter sometimes and brighter sometimes on this evening, October 7th. Now, the other thing we have for you this week, the moon is waxing. It's getting fuller as it slides easterly through the stars. And it has a series of encounters, not super close encounters, but interesting encounters with other solar system objects. And it starts on the evening of October 3rd. These dates are all the evenings before midnight of these events, of these nights. It's about 2/3 full, just short of 2/3 full on this night the moon is, October 3rd, and it slides just below Pluto. The way I've drawn it is what it looks like for me just shortly after dark, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 9:30 p.m. or something like that. And so my time, I've got the moon being a little bit west of Pluto. So if you live west of me, the moon is sliding this direction, and it'll actually make a little bit closer pairing with Pluto. Now, Pluto's an almost impossible object to see. If you've got a nice big telescope, you might be able to go about doing this. I would recommend taking pictures if you have the ability to take pictures through your telescope with this. So Pluto's right at the limiting edge of a pretty big backyard telescope to be able to see. So you got to work pretty hard to see Pluto. But it's within about 4 degrees of Pluto, the moon is on this night. 2 nights later, on the 5th, the moon will have filled out, 20% more, 82% full, getting to be a pretty big, bright moon at that point, and it will pass below Saturn. And it's going to be about 6 degrees. So all of these are about 4 to 6 degrees, half a fist width at arm's length of the moon with bright objects or very faint objects in the night sky. And so it's about 6 degrees, and as I've drawn it here, 9:30 my time or something like that, we see that it's already moved east. So if you live east of me, the moon will be closer to Saturn over this direction, but still just going to be about 5 degrees is all it'll get right there. 2 nights later, so now we've gone to the evening of October 7th, the same time you're out there looking for the eclipse of Algol, it's going to be sitting just below Neptune, about 4 degrees. We talked about Neptune last week and how to try to find Neptune. Going to need a telescope for that. Maybe binoculars would do it, but you're going to have searched that area to know what Neptune, what very faint object is Neptune there. And so I'm going to recommend the telescope to slide up from the moon up here and help you find Neptune. We used Jupiter last week to try to find Neptune. And so now we're going to try to find Neptune using the moon on October 7th. October 7th is a big night for us, right? We're going to be out there trying to find Neptune using the moon. And we're going to be out there trying to identify the minimum, see the minimum of Algol as it goes into eclipse. And so much stuff to do. 1 night later, October 8th, as the week's winding down a little bit, the moon's full basically at that point. And the moon will be sliding by Jupiter here. And so it's going to be about 4 or 5 degrees. Again, all of these are sort of 4 to 6 degrees. And as I've drawn it here, again, it's already moved to the east of Jupiter when I see it getting dark. So if you live east of me, then you might see it a little bit closer underneath Jupiter, but it should be a good pair. So let's watch the moon slide by some objects in the solar system. Let's see if we can see a minimum of Algol. Let's just learn the stars of Perseus, and that's our goals for the week. Hope you have clear skies. Hope you have a chance to get out and observe. And I hope you have a great week. As always, thanks for watching, everybody.